Diaz, good morning. We're calling to order the 13th of November, 2025 committee. It is 9:03 a.m. Madam Clerk, we of the Finance and Administration Committee of the West County Wastewater. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? Director King.
Present.
And Chair Suddeth.
And Aki.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Now it's time for public comment for items not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, will you read the rules for public comment and let us know if you have received any public comments or requests to speak?
Members of the public may comment during this time up to 3 minutes per speaker. Directors may ask brief clarifying questions, but may not engage in discussion regarding public comment made during this time. Now is the time for public comment for items not on the agenda. We haven't received any written comments. If anyone would like to comment on non-agenda items now, please raise your hand in Zoom or approach the podium. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Thank you so much. At this time, I would like to ask our Deputy General Manager, Justin Lavo, to please lead us through the remainder of the agenda, sir.
All right, good morning. Item 1 on the agenda is to accept the Finance and Administration Committee regular meeting minutes of October 9th, 2025, and special meeting minutes of October 30th, 2025. Madam Clerk, have we received written comments on this item or requests to speak?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 1, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
Okay, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to move to accept the Finance Administration Committee meetings that took place on October the 9th, 2025, and the special meeting for the Finance and Administration Committee, a meeting that took place on October the 30th, 2025.
Thank you so much.
Minutes.
Into the record.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 2, is to review the 2026 investment policy. Madam Clerk, have we received written comments on this item or requests to speak?
We have not. If anyone wishes to speak on item 2, please come to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comments.
All right, so just a quick introduction on this item. So we annually review the investment policy. So we and have the board and the F&A committee and then the board adopt any revisions in the policy or just reconfirm the policy as standing. For this year, there's just a few minor edits, and there was one law change specifically about the term of the maximum maturity of specific investments under commercial paper. It just said it increased the days of maturity to 397, and that was a state law. But other than that, everything else is staying the same. And then with that, we just want to introduce Maria Bagley, our finance manager, just to give us a presentation a little bit more specifically on our investments at West County Wastewater. All right, take it over, Maria. Press the top. There you go.
Good morning, Chair Suddeth and Director King Meredith. I'm here to talk about our investment policy. Noted, Justin mentioned there was one policy change, that was SB 595, increased by 87 days on the commercial paper. We do have 3 investment accounts that we essentially keep our operating money in. That's CLASS, which stands for Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, CAMP, California Asset Management Program, LAIF, Local Agency Investment. And we did put here the PARs, but this is really just for our OPEB, so this is for retiree medical benefits. The PAR trust is really exclusively used to fund that. So these accounts are essentially considered pooled accounts. They're not self-directed, which means nobody here at WCW is actively managing and trading in and out of them. All excess cash that we have are deposited into these 3 different accounts. The PARs is done based on a essentially proportionate share of employees' payroll. So just the performance, so these are the balances as of 10/31, and then we have the average yields here. Just a quick note, they're all averaging, excluding PARs, they're all averaging about 4.5, give or take. The PARs is, once again, actively managed and just for OPEB and has a different investment strategy, so that has a higher return to it. And then we have allocations by dollar value, so we just pooled essentially what percentage of the different asset classes that they have, and then we gave you a proportional share with our funds that are being held as of 10/31. So, any questions?
That was straightforward. Not this time.
So are all, these accounts, class, camp, like, are they all affected by the new, as we got or just one of them? You said class at first, but then you mentioned class, camping and late. So is it just class that's affected by the extra 95 days, or is it also them?
So all of the district's investments in these various accounts that Maria has set out. Oh, you can't hear me?
I can, but I don't know.
Oh, no, it's on. Yeah, it's on. So what I was saying was that all of the district's investments through these various tools that Maria has outlined all need to comply with the district's investment policy. So to the extent within any of these vehicles they are investing in commercial paper, then this new maturity rule will apply to those activities as well. But it's all sort of under these various umbrellas. They all are subject to the same set of rules, same law.
I just wanted that clarity, because when I was reading it, I wasn't clear if, I mean, I knew that they were subject to the policy, but I wasn't clear if this extended time was applied to all of them, so thank you for the clarification. Do we have any idea of the outlook? I know it's just prognostication.
So you mean the outlook for our investment yields and returns? So,
Based on what we've been seeing,
Yeah.
what does it look like? And I know it's just a prognostication. I'm asked this often.
so because a lot of these are short duration, you've seen the short end of the curve come down. If you look at what we presented last year, you would have saw, I think it was like a 5.20, 5.30. You can see that we're now 4, so it would not be surprising. Everybody's calling for lower end rates to go down, especially with the Fed continuing to cut short-term rates.
I just wanted it on the record.
Okay.
And with our cards account,
Yeah, 9.71.
same, correct?
The PARS account, yes, has went down from last year, so I would expect, it was 11 point, I want to say 3-ish, and now it's hovering at 9.7, so yes, same.
I do want to set expectations properly, and this is not within the district's control.
It is not. It's market.
These are factors outside
Yeah,
the district's control. This is more market.
correct. What we do on the PARS account is we set the investment strategy, which has been the same strategy since the PARS account was created, which is a kind of a mid-range of, I would say it's not the most conservative, it's not the most liberal, say, investment strategy, but it's the most risky. But it's, so we're kind of right in the middle, and it's some months it has a loss, and some months, but averaged over has been doing pretty well as an investment.
So the only recommendation I would say is to just include that with caveat in there. This is, I know intuitively people know it, but when you see numbers, somehow people's intuition is lost. They, it's, okay, we're not the ones who are managing the markets. That this is totally driven by factors that are not controlled by by the district. So I think it's somehow either leading with it or just mentioning it. I think
Okay.
would be helpful to remind people who are not numbers people, who are not finance people, so just be mindful of its, yeah,
Okay.
investments go up.
They go down.
So thank you.
All right.
Any other questions or comments, Director Kincaid?
No, the only one I was looking at, when I said that 9.7, and you said it was 11 last year. Right,
11.3, yeah,
right, and
three something.
last, and that's the only one I was looking at, was 9.7, so I'm good. I'm good.
You good?
Yes, I'm good, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
So we would like the committee to recommend this, if you're comfortable with the changes, that will go to the full board in December.
Wait, also, let me look at the policy, because I think I have a question on the actual investment policy, so give me just a second. Because I was looking at the presentation, but there was something on the policy I had a question on. So Maria, I know you want to see down, but.
You said it was only one changes.
Wait, so, General Counsel, the legal change, it was SB 595, correct? That's what I was looking for, that reference, and can you, Ms. Maria, can you make sure, Ms. Bagley, I'm sorry about that. Can you, SB 595, can you put that in the actual presentation? There's no reference in the presentation.
Yeah, we can put it on the beginning page.
Can you put it on?
Yeah, yeah.
Just so, because this will be posted on the
Website.
website, so I would just like for people to know what we're referring to.
Okay.
So they can have it there, and. I understood the changes, I like the changes, actually. The changes to the actual
The word.
policy. I 397 days maturity instead of 270.
It's 70.
And I think I was looking for that in the presentation. Which is a one line. It
Yeah.
says, dates, in accordance with, IEW SB 595. It's removing from the 270 to 397. Just so people can have it in one place. They're not reading the whole policy. Just that change, just that one line change. That's what I was looking for just that change from in the policy on the slide deck.
Okay.
Okay? Director Kimberly?
Because those was the three major changes,
Just that one
What
change.
change?
That
Right
one
there?
line change.
from the
in
2 to
accordance
300, okay.
In accordance with California law and parenthetical SB 595, purchases of, shall not
To
exceed
be
300. We'll move from 270 to 397. I'll let General Counsel give you a
Worded.
one-liner. I don't want to go wordy. I just wanted something really quick, just a one bullet point.
a mention.
And then it'll be really quick, and then we don't have to go through the whole policy at the meeting.
Okay.
And we just have that one line item, and then they can see the rest of it is pretty much cleaning up.
With the does
Grammar
and,
and typing. For me, is what I have. You have anything else?
no, other than the changes already been
You want to
made.
move it to the full board? You want
Yes.
to make a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion to move the investment, okay, one more, sorry. I would like to move the investment review of 2026 policy to the full board.
I'll
And with those noted,
with the noted addition to
with the noted addition to the policy,
to the presentation.
to the presentation to be noted.
So
Okay.
that one line item, and then just give them the caveat. I don't care. You say it or you just put it there, and it's, investments go up, investments come down. Just a reminder, so we don't have to get into a crash course on finance during the meeting.
That can be done.
And then I'll concur. So, with that, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Okay,
All right,
so-
item 3 on the agenda is to receive a presentation on Proposition 218 and an overview of our fiscal years 2027 to 2031 sewer service charge scenarios.
Yeah.
I put this on the ceiling and I look at it and it's my lullaby at night. We live for this kind of discussion.
With that, we will,
We have a consultant here, so we went through
oh,
it.
let me finish, Maria. I'm working, if you wanted to introduce, yeah. Madam Clerk, have we received any written comments on this item or requests to speak?
We have not. If anyone would like to comment, no, we haven't. If anyone would like to comment on item 3, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, we have no public comment.
All right, well, with that, Ms. Bagley would like to present our consultant, Michael DeGroot, with Bartle Wells. So just as we recall, several months ago, the board has approved a contract with Bartle Wells to conduct a sewer rate study. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Michael DeGroot. We've been working with him, and several of us been coming up with assumptions and looking at some of the scenario options. And so we'll present that today, also go into a discussion about the Prop 218 process that we'll have to follow once the board makes a recommendation on the rates in a couple months. So with that, I'll turn it over to Michael.
Thank you. So, as mentioned, my name is Michael DeGroot with Bartle Wells, and this is the presentation overview on the next slide. So I'm going to be discussing the rate study objectives, go over the rate study process, and then discuss Proposition 218, which is the legal requirements for wastewater rates, go over your wastewater enterprise overview and capital improvement needs, discuss the financial plan and the rates, and then we'll have questions and discussions and go over the next steps. So Bartle Wells Associates is our firm, and it's an independent financial advisory founded in 1964. And we're located in Berkeley, California. And the key services that we provide are primarily water and wastewater rate and fee studies, but we also do some strategic financial planning, municipal advisor for debt, engineers reports for assessments, as well as litigation support and expert witness. So these are the rate study objectives. And first, we want to make sure that the rates are financially sufficient and that we're able to cover your operating and capital improvement costs. Secondly, we want to make sure that we're complying with the law, which is Proposition 218. And we want to make sure that the rates are aligned with the district's objectives. And finally, we want to make sure to have a customer focus. So really understanding what our recommendations mean for customers and smoothing in impacts as smoothly as possible. So this is an overview of the rate study. So first we have a 10-year financial plan, and we look at funding your long-term operating, debt service, and capital needs. Then we do a cost of service and rate analysis, and we look at various rate alternatives and develop updated rates that reflect the cost of service to meet your annual revenue requirements. And throughout the process, we work closely with the district to build consensus for our final recommendations. So this is an overview of the rate study process. And we've gone through the first about 5 steps, and we've completed some draft rates that we'll present today. The first step that we had is a kickoff meeting with the staff and establishing key project timelines as well as gathering data. And then the second step is to do a demand analysis. So we look at your customer base and we project how many customers you're going to have going forward and the flows to the wastewater treatment plant and the strength characteristics. And the third step is we conduct a financial plan and looking at what your revenue requirements need to be. Then we do a cost allocation. So we look at allocating the cost to the various billing components and to make sure that it's compliant with Proposition 218 and that the costs are fairly and equitably allocated. And then finally, we put together draft rates, and these will be for the next 5 years, which is the maximum that you can go out under Prop 218. And then the last step is finally going through the Proposition 218 process, which is the process to actually adopt the rates. So going into what the 10-year financial plan is we're looking at funding your operating and capital needs, as well as maintaining adequate fund reserves and meeting any current and projected debt service coverage requirements. So that financial plan really serves as a roadmap for funding your operating and capital improvements and maintaining long-term financial health. So one of the key aspects of the study are the reserve targets. And reserves allow the utility to function smoothly throughout the year, meet unexpected revenue shortfalls and expenses, minimize your debt service financing costs, as well as improve your creditworthiness. And they're unique to each agency. So we look at your risk profile, any drought exposure that you have due to volumetric rates, potential risk of natural disasters, look at system reliability as well as your billing method and other factors. And you have a current adopted reserve policy that is 6 months of O&M, which is called your operating reserve. Then you've got an emergency reserve of 7% of your O&M. And then you've got a capital improvement program reserve, which is 6 months of your CIP. And finally, an equipment reserve, which is $350,000. And we think that's a very good reserve policy. So Proposition 218 established the legal requirements for rates, and it was a voter-approved constitutional amendment in 1996, and it added Articles 13C and 13D to the California Constitution. And there are some substantive and procedural requirements for rates. So rates cannot exceed the cost of providing the service, and although you're allowed to carry prudent reserves, and the rates need to be proportionate to the and make sure they're fair and equitable. So one customer class can't subsidize another customer class under Proposition 218. And as far as procedural requirements, you need to mail a notice of the rate increase to all property owners and customers. And then you need to hold a public hearing at least 45 days after the mailing, and the rates are subject to majority protest. So what that means is if 50% plus one of the affected parcels submit a written protest, then the board cannot go through with adopting the rates, and you need to start the process over again. So this is the overview of the sewer enterprise. So the sewer utility is financially self-supporting, and the rates are your main source of revenue and the rates need to be set at a level adequate to fund the cost of service. And the sewer system includes about 249 miles of gravity sewer pipelines, 17 lift stations, 6 miles of pressure force mains, as well as your water quality resource recovery plant that has a capacity of about 12.5 million gallons per day of average dry weather flow. And the district collects sewage from approximately 34,000 residential customers and 900 commercial and industrial customers. So and this is your sewer capital improvement program, and the objective here is to maintain and improve your wastewater infrastructure. And your sewer system CIP includes upgrades, repairs and replacements, and these are all needed to maintain safe and reliable operations. And your 5-year capital improvement spending is over $63 million, and that's on projects such as facilities program, gravity sewer program, plant process program, and also a treatment plant protection levy of $5 million. So this is the CIP plan graphically, and we've really taken into account, potential tariffs as well as inflation moving forward. So the CIP assumes 20% for inflation, and that's to really take into account potential tariffs and that impact, as well as 5% thereafter. And so you can see that it varies, but overall it's 63 million. And then these are our financial plan scenarios. So these are the two initial scenarios we want you to consider, but we can come back with more later. So scenario one is a pay-as-you-go scenario, which means no additional financing. So this is all cash funded. And scenario two would be looking at about $50.7 million bond issuance in fiscal year ending 2029. And we're assuming that's a 30-year issuance at 6% interest and 1.5% for the transaction fees. And both scenarios meet and maintain the reserve target in all 5 years. So these are the key financial drivers. Like I mentioned, your aging infrastructure. You also have existing debt. So there was a 2015 SRF loan, state revolving loan, with annual payments of $2.65 million, as well as a 2021 revenue bond, which has an annual payment of about $4.8 million. Additionally, we're looking at an annual cost of $1.4 million a year for your pension liability repayment, and increased staffing costs to hire 3 additional full-time positions as well as temporary employees. And for your operating costs, we factored in 4% a year, and that's projections and cost increases for things such as electricity, staffing, materials, and insurance, which all we're projecting increasing. So this is scenario one, which is the pay-as-you-go scenario. So this assumes no debt financing. And the rate revenue increases that we're recommending for this scenario is 12% per year for 5 years. So that first increase would go into effect on July 1st of 2026, and the final one July 1st of 2030. And the financial plan graphically, so you can see the blue bars are your operating expenses. The yellow is your debt service that's currently that we're currently projecting, as well as existing. And then the orange is your OPEB liability, and the gray bars is your capital improvement program. And for the revenues, that's the solid green line is your total revenues. And your reserve, you can see, is the dotted black line, and then your reserve target is the solid purple. So what we're seeing currently with the sewer enterprise as of this year is that your revenues are essentially covering the operating costs, but not really leaving much room for the CIP. And so these rate increases are really needed to fully fund your expenses. And so you can see that green line is going above the bars, and that's fully funding those expenses. And you can see that the dotted line, which is your ending cash reserve, is above your reserve target for this scenario. And one thing to note is with this scenario, years 6 through 10, we're anticipating would be kind of an inflationary level increase. So this is, the 12% is what we see as what you need to get your rates in line with the cost of service. And then after that, it would just be inflationary. So this is scenario 2, and this is with debt. And so in this scenario, we're projecting 8% per year for 5 years. And we've got that issuance in fiscal year ending 2029. And with this scenario, you can see that green line, which is your total revenues, are not fully funding the expenses. And so under this scenario, you would need to continue increasing the rates by 8% per year from year 6 to 10, so in the out years. And so this does not fully balance your budget, but, we wanted to include this scenario because we know that, the 12% could be seen as kind of a steep scenario, and we wanted to include something that was a little bit more affordable. So this shows you the proposed rates under scenario 1, the pay-as-you-go. And just to go over your current rate structure, you've got fixed charges, which are shown here as annual amounts. And the single-family home pays $815 a year. A multifamily unit pays $711, as well as the mobile home, and that's a fixed charge. Then your commercial customers pay per 1,000 gallons of water usage, subject to the minimum charge of $815. And you've got two classes of commercial users. You've got the domestic strength, and you've got a high strength rate. And typically high strength is restaurants. So they pay per unit of usage. And then you've got industrial users, which pay based on actual measured flow as well as loadings. And so that's how your rates are currently set up. And we're recommending keeping that current structure. However, we did a full cost allocation, and so there's a slight adjustment in the allocation in the year. But after that, everything's going up by the same percentage. So under this scenario, that's the 12%. But overall, this increases the rate revenue by 12% for the 5 years. So under this scenario, your current rates would go from $815 a year to $912 the first year, and then up to $1,435 in year 5. So what does that mean in terms of the monthly bill impact? So your single-family customers are currently paying $67.92 a month, and that would go up by $8.08 a month to $76 in the first year, and that would phase in over 5 years to $119.58. And then the multifamily is currently at $59.25, and that would go up $7.42 a month to $66.67, and then phase up to $104.83 in year 5. So how do your rates compare with the region? So this shows you a regional rate survey, and this is for a typical single-family residential user. And currently, you're at $67.92, so you're on the lower end of the survey, and you would move up to $76. So you can see you're in the middle of the pack on the survey. And, all these other agencies we are also anticipating would be increasing their rates, so likely you would still stay kind of in the lower half of the survey. And you can see that on the survey, all of these agencies are fixed charges for residential, and some of them are East Bay Mud customers, which is the orange portion of the bill. Then they rely on East Bay Mud for their treatment. So this is the scenario 2, which is the debt scenario. And so that under this scenario, the single family rate would go from $815 to $880 in the first year, up to $1197 in year 5. And just to show you what this means on a monthly, it's a $5.42 a month increase the first year to $73.33 for single family, and then gradually increasing to $99.75 a month in year 5. And the multifamily would go from $59.25 to $87.42. So this is the survey, and you can see it's a little bit lower than the last one, but still you're kind of in that lower half of the survey. So this is the financial scenario comparison. So scenario 1, as I mentioned, is the 12% annual increases each year from year 1 to year 5. And then we're projecting annual inflationary increases in year 6 through 10. So it's a lower long-term cost because you don't have any additional interest from borrowing, but it's a higher upfront impact. And we really see this scenario as what you need to do, you know, the 12% per year. It meets the balanced budget at the end of 5 years. Scenario 2 has the $50.7 million bond issuance, and we're showing 8% increases in year 1 through 5, but we're projecting 8% annual increases in years 6 through 10. So this has a lower short-term impact, but overall a higher long-term cost because you have the additional interest on the debt. And it does not fully meet the balanced budget at the end of year 5. So in summary, the district has historically been proactive with consistent gradual annual rate increases. But rate increases are needed now to support rising operating costs, debt service, pension repayments, as well as capital needs. And so these are the next steps. So today we've got the Finance Committee meeting, and based on this meeting, we can come back and with revised scenarios depending on what you'd want to see. And then we'd go to the full board to get their blessing to authorize the Proposition 218 notice. And that would be sent out in February or March of 2026. And then you'd have the noticing period between March and May of 2026, and finally a public hearing in May, and then the rates would be effective July 1st of 2026. So that's it for the presentation.
Wow. All right, well, thank you, Michael. I know there's a lot to digest there. So we're happy to start having a discussion, kind of where this lands. And as we're looking through like a lot of the assumptions, we're taking into consideration what do we need as an organization over the next several years. We know we've had to. We wanted to make sure that we'll have enough resources to pay for capital, to make sure that we have enough for any potential operating changes. As we have seen these last couple of years, there's been some high inflationary costs on some. Had some project delays, and so we're trying to be as most prudent as we can, but still it's definitely quite a bit of money. So I want to just stop there and just kind of start a discussion.
I think mine is on. Yes, on.
I can never tell when it's on. Thank you. Yes. See, it was the discussion I thought it was going to be. Such a lively, entertaining. Thank you. Dr. King Meredith.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It's a lot to digest, but I mean, the scenarios are here, and it's well thought of. I appreciate really the different graphics that goes along with the identification of what the movement is for these different charges, and to really to see them and to see the 8% increase. The other thing, I'm glad that it was presented, the amounts of changes throughout the 5 years for our consistency and ratepayers to understand the movement. Just to see it go from the 8% for each year and the cost, it's really needed for the functioning of the organization. I really appreciate that. I was just looking at our slide for the variable changes for the average single-family residential and the monthly water uses, and that's slide, I guess, 22. And to see the scenarios against the other different cities and their, and their growth and what they will be paying. It's reassuring to see that we are in the middle and we're not at the high end. I would really been shocked to see if we were at the high end, but to see that we're in the middle, that's really, appreciated to see that we're not being gouged, and for what the study has looked at and made the comparisons to see that we're moving in the direction of looking at what our households and our commercials will be actually be paying, and that's reassuring. The other slide that I thought was very interesting, matter of fact, the whole presentation is interesting. I mean, to really see the study laid out the way it is, I really appreciate that. Is the scenario for number, I guess it's slide 26, and the scenario for the PAYGO. Could you, PAYGO,
Right. Yeah, pay as you go.
pay as you go, okay. And that's a 12% annual increase for the organization in the next 5 years?
Yep.
Should I 8%, then we're gonna jump to 12%?
No, so the pay as you go, it assumes no external financing, and that's the 12% per year. And then the scenario 2 is with debt. So that's, if you borrowed additional money, that's the 8%
Okay.
scenario.
Okay. That was one of my other questions.
Just to add on to that,
Yeah.
we wanted to look at, one of the biggest drivers here is making sure we have sufficient funding for our capital needs, and that is actually pretty clearly laid out in the strategic plan. We want to make sure that we have, a stable funding source for our capital program, and so we looked at, well, there's really two options. We do the pay-as-you-go, so with cash, and we save up over time to pay for those expenses, or we borrow more money. And so that keeps the rate, but there's some trade-offs related to that. And we're not in a position to borrow money right now, as we're still going through a
Right.
clean and green project. So we're taking all of those factors into consideration of what are some of the options out there.
Okay. And then I just had one other, and going back, I just found it, going back to slide 18, and I think you really hit on explaining that, but I just want to be clear. From looking at, for the revenue, the green identification line that goes down, you look at 26, it's tipping the tip, and we're covered, and then it goes down, but then when it gets to FYE 29, see, that's a little bit below, that revenue is a little bit below that
Yeah.
actual debit line, so,
Yeah, so it's ultimately in year 5, it's, fully covering the cost. And then you can see in FYE ending 2029, it's a slight deficit, but a slight surplus in fiscal year ending 2030. So you got kind of a lumpy capital improvement program, which is why. But overall, that scenario is fully funding the costs on a pay-as-you-go basis, which is a cash
way
basis.
to go, okay. Okay, so with that, I'm good. Thank you for the presentation. Madam Chair.
Couple things. Before I get to you, sorry. Deputy General Counsel, what's our balance on the SRF? I know it's 2.65 million repayment a year, but what's our balance? Do you know?
Of the debt that we owe?
Yes.
I don't recall off the top of my head. We still owe over $100 million.
Okay,
yeah.
that's close enough. And then on the revenue bond?
Oh, that's for all of our debt. So we have four
That's what I want.
SRF loans that we're paying back, and that our annual debt service between those 4 loans is about $2.6 million a year. And then our bond.
It's
debt
4.77.
Is 4.77 a
Okay.
year, our annual debt payment.
Can you get that for me, the breakdown of that? I don't need it right this moment, but can you get the breakdown of the SRF and the revenue bonds? Just so we can have it when we talk about this at the board meeting.
Sure, so you'd like to see the balance owed, so, and then we can also share, if it's helpful, the amount of principal and interest. So you
Absolutely.
can see the total amount that will be paying back.
Absolutely.
Over time, and when
Yes.
that is, we can do that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Both of those, and then we know the pension liability will change,
Right.
a long time. With time, I know right now it stands around 1.4 million a year, but that can, it's neither here nor there, that's gonna be different. And with the 4% inflation, which is also a close your eyes and throw a dart, right? So we're looking at about 9 million a year in costs and repayment costs plus 4% inflation, right? Approximately in operating expenses, not counting if we need to hire someone or et cetera. When you looked at the 10-year financial projections and not counting the 63 million that we're talking about we need for capital projects, right? That we told you that we want done in our strategic plan, right?
Correct.
I knew I saw him here. So looking at the general manager, and this is the charge that the board gave to you. I'm actually speaking right now to the board because I know some of them will listen to this committee meeting. And I want to say that I know you gave us 2 scenarios. In my mind, I have 1 scenario. Because I know that as much as we want to keep expenses low for everyone, the work is the work. Right, Andrew? The general manager, the work is the work. Yeah, I was going to invite you up to make
Yeah,
some,
so that'll
but
be
the work is the work,
Correct.
right? The work is the
And
work,
it's what we need to do. Sure.
and the poop and the pee is not going to stop coming. The work is the work. The work is the work. I appreciate the thoroughness of this report. The work is the work, and to quote Mike Tomlinson, the standard is the standard. We can't change the standard, and the work is the work. And I know that as much as people may not want to pay additional, we're gonna pay it one way or the other.
For real, I haven't
You're either gonna pay it now, or you're gonna pay it later.
missed
And paying it later comes with, this is why I wanted you to break it down. Paying it later means you pay even more. I was listening to this debate over whether we have 30-year mortgages or whether we have 50-year mortgages, right? Okay, so you're gonna either pay a 30-year mortgage and pay a $500,000 loan and it becomes $1 million, or you have a $500,000 loan and becomes $1.6 million to save $160 a month.
for 20 years, from 30 to 50.
So you're gonna pay it one way or the other. My recommendation, because we do have to take this to the greater board, and I'm gonna speak to you, and I'm going to speak to Deputy General Manager and to Ms. Baglia, because the finance manager, is the way I posit this when I told, the last time when we did this, and I speak to the public and they ask me about this, the way I posit this is, I know you broke this down on slide 20. If you go to slide 20, you broke this down to, not slide 20, I don't like slide 20, slide 18. Slide 18, this one. You broke it down this way, what the current is and what it will be per month. But you see that line that says the amount of the increase? I like this line. Is less painful, right? When I tell someone, oh, you're gonna pay, you're paying $67.92 a month, because the reality is we don't even see it per month. We don't, because it's on our
On our
tax
taxes,
rolls.
yeah.
We don't see it. You know when I saw mine?
On my taxes.
Last month, when they sent me the bill that said we're gonna take this from you in December. So it's actually Because people see it and they're gonna be, huh? I gotta pay what? You're increasing it by what? And in reality, you don't even see it. It's different than my East Bay Mud. Now, East Bay Mud, I get all upset. PG&E, I get all upset because I see it every month. But this one, they don't even see it. But when I tell somebody, listen, it's gonna increase by $8 a month from what you're paying right now. And that's the difference between poop coming up in your shower when you take a shower. There's a difference between having poop come up when you turn on your water and you're washing your dishes. So do you want me to clean it, or do you want to see this? Which one you want? And next year it's gonna be $9. You're not even gonna feel that $9. Let me just tell you. Did I say this at the booth when we were when we had the booth in El Bistro? And they said, that's it. You spend that at the Dollar Tree. So do you see the difference? It is about how we position it and how we say it. But the reality is most people will understand that $12.75 goes a long way than saying to them, okay, you're paying $67.92 now, and in 5-6 years, you're gonna pay $119.58. They understand it, it's just that mentally, it's the difference between saying paying $100 and paying $95.95. You see what I mean? So I do think that, and that's something we can talk about internally on how we position this, but I'm not for increasing more debts because they're gonna have to pay it, and now we're gonna pay it with interest, and it becomes even more, but we gotta pay this. I came to this district talking about we have to, back in 2018, 2019, saying we have to improve the infrastructure. Right now, because when I came here, they were kicking it down the road and bragging about having the lowest rates, but the lowest rates got us where we are today. And I'm a procurement officer, and you never want to be the lowest because that doesn't mean you're the best. And you don't want to be the highest because that don't mean you're the best. But you want to have the best equipment, and sometimes you got to pay for it, right? And I do like what you said, and to keep pointing that out. There's some of these ones who have lower rates, and even the ones who have higher, everybody's going through 218 right now. So I would like for you to make sure you emphasize that, both you and Deputy General Manager. I know because we're talking to them when we go to the conferences. And all of us who are on boards, and the general manager knows this, he'll tell you himself, I wanted him to say something. We're all talking about this because everybody's saying it to each other. Okay, which consultant are you using? Or what are you guys talking about? What did you decide? We're all talking to each other about this, and how much, what was your rate, and what did you guys do? We're all talking to each other. It might not be publicized yet, but everybody's raising it. Some people are raising it by, 20, 30% because they didn't raise it the last time. So some of them are really, it's really high. So I don't think that 12% is extraordinary, given that, it has been 5 years, considering the work that needs to be done, and considering the economic constraints that we're in, and the fact that, as you said, this does include tariffs. Please mention that again, okay? Please mention the tariffs. Please mention the fact that this is going to, and my number one thing that I really want you to underscore, that after 5 years, this will see our budget balanced. Because for me, that's very, very key. I don't want to see us in 5 years still have a lot of debts. We can't predict anything, but the point of doing this exercise is to balance the budget and still have infrastructure, take care of the things the board asks the district to take care of with the capital improvement, okay? We're not trying to go into even more debt and still not have our capital projects completed. Now, we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. This is based on what we know today. Anything could happen that derails us. General Manager, again, say that part. Anything could happen to derail us or to send us down another path. But from what we know today, this sends us down the pathway to be debt-free, to pay off the debt that we owe, as well as get the projects done, okay? And that I think will sit well with the public. I'm one of those people who's gonna have to pay, right? And then the last thing I will say, General Manager, will you please weigh in so we can have it on the record? I do want to tie it back to the strategic plan.
Yes.
As I often ask you guys, that this is what we have asked of you. Two things, tie back to the strategic plan with the capital project and tie back to the strategic plan with the finance. Because we did ask you this in the finance section of the strategic plan. So please tie it back to that. Anything else, Director King Meredith, before the General Manager speaks? He wanted to make some comments.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yes.
General Manager. Sir, please. Don't go too far, sir. We might have more questions, I don't know.
He'll need to come back.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Andrew Cloud, the General Manager for West County Wastewater. Thank you. I wanted to make a number of comments on what was just presented. We talked about where we were in the path that we were on. If we'd remained on the path we were on, we'd had continued to have a very unreliable, unsustainable system. There was a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of deferred capital improvements. And on some of the graphs where you saw the debt going forward, what's the interest rate on that debt, Justin?
Well, we got a very good deal at 2.5 all-in interest rate for 30-year bonds. And we saw that the scenario now is, best case scenario as we know now is 6%. So that means even higher interest rates
Exactly.
in the future.
But we started out really good, 2 point.
What we've managed to accomplish over the last 5 years is trying to take the agency from that position where we're in an unreliable and unsustainable position to reaching a point of sustainability, as he mentioned, where we would hopefully be having rate increases just sort of matching inflation. Now, that's a projection. It's what we aspire to. Can't guarantee that with all the variables. But that bar showing the debt, the Clean and Green project, which is what that was primarily intended to fund, the energy savings that we're realizing because of that, if you remove that little yellow bar and replace it with a payment to PG&E, what would that look like?
Well, we would probably be paying another $2 to $3 million a year on electrical costs without that.
And the debt service that we're paying?
It's 4.7 million. So when at the end of the day, our savings are going to be covering most of that debt service payment.
Exactly.
And as it goes further into the future, because that infrastructure that we constructed will last for many, many decades, that will get higher and higher and higher. And so what we're doing is there's an avoided cost, which you're not actually seeing in there because of the debt that was incurred to build out the Clean and Green project, which increases our reliability, but also reduces our costs in the long run. So that debt is actually almost negated, which was the intent of it. Other large capital dollars that need to be spent by most other agencies to meet nutrient reduction mandates were already there. So there was a reference to a lot of these rates we're making comparison to. They're also doing a rate increase. Many of those with their rate increases aren't even addressing the large capital need that they're going to have for nutrient reduction unless some miraculous technology comes along, which is being worked on, that might be able to find a lower cost for that. But we're already have the nutrient reduction, one of the few in the area. Dollars spent in the past 5 years on emergency response, the series of force main failures that we had. We could list them, they were popping off like firecrackers, 1, 2, 3, Lakeside, Carriage Hills, Terra Hills, Hilltop Green. Those were very expensive. And all of that emergency response action is money that couldn't be spent on maintenance or capital improvement. And then the capital improvements that we did make at the time were expensive because they were in an emergency mode. So a lot of what we have now is, one, we have an idea of what the condition of all these facilities are, with exception of a few, which we're still working on, but we're also building redundant force mains in those locations so we won't have those single point of failures. So hopefully going forward, we won't have as many of those, but that, as you said, we don't know what it's going to cost, but we've reduced our potential for those kind of drains on our reserves as well. It also increases our reliability. What we mentioned is we're trying to reach a stable at the 5-year point. where we won't have to continue to correct this large amount of deferred capital. While the 12% year to year over the next 5 years is substantial, we recognize that. Its monthly impact is, fairly minimal when you look at it in that manner, but we recognize it's substantial. But its purpose is to try to catch us up to that point, and we've done a lot to get there. We've improved our systems and our ability to spend that money in an effective way, which I think we've demonstrated, and I hope the ratepayers understand and appreciate. And certainly if they had questions, we'd be happy to answer it. There's another thing in there, the $5 million that was mentioned for potentially to help with coastal sea level rise protection, coastal flooding protection. We're also pretty far ahead of most of the other agencies with the potential, we're not there, but the potential to be able to protect these assets from coastal flooding and sea level rise. And that there's $5 million in this budget, in this projected budget, to help with matching funds that we would need if we can indeed get the federal funding. And you mentioned paying later costs us more, but it also results in a less reliable system and more environmental harm. The single family versus multifamily, that wasn't described very much, but I think that may, like, when you look at multifamily and it says, well, that's cheaper than single family. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So the rates are based off of, is there a fixed fee? So that's taking into all of our consistent costs, plus it makes assumptions for flow. Versus the commercial and industrial, they're paying based on the amount of water that they're using, and there's a calculation to determine how much flow goes into it. So we make some standardization and make some assumptions based on the typical single-family home uses so much water, the typical multifamily home uses less water, and that's because there's less faucets, less toilets, less areas where they will have water, and so there's they're not using as much water, and so that's why the rate is lower, and that goes into Prop 218 is proportional to their share. So this is actually very standard in most other sanitary districts that use a fixed fee for residential. It has a single family home component, and then there's a multifamily, whether it's condo, apartments component as well.
Let me ask a question, because this question was brought up when we had the workshop, Director King Meredith, and there were people in multifamily homes who asked this question about the rate and why it couldn't be lower, and why it was so close to the single family residential rate.
A lot of it has to do with there's fixed cost, like the amount of what we have to pay to treating the water, what we're paying to maintain the pipes in the ground, the lift stations. That doesn't change whether you're using more or less water, or you're in a residential, you're in a single family or you're in an apartment. So that's probably the biggest portion of the cost. And so the difference in the cost is really the assumption that we're making about the water usage in each of those units. And so it's just the typical water usage is what we're looking at. And we know some people use more and we know some people use less, but it's for the purposes of this, because we're not a water provider. Mm-hmm. It makes it, easier to calculate, but it meets the standards of what the law says of proportionality.
Yeah. I asked the East Bay Mud person to address it too, because they were really worried about there were some elderly people who were like, it's only 2 of us in the house. Why we pay them the same as somebody was 6 in the house? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to get it on record to say that, it's really the infrastructure that they're paying for rather than the number of flushes, right?
And that's part of it, but it's the whole system that then connects from that house all the way to the
all the way to the street. So I just wanted to get you to say this part. Okay.
And then the last thing is, we're not really prepared to talk a lot more detail about it, but there was a line item in there that showed 3 FTE. Mm-hmm. And that's really, Our needs for additional staff exceed that, but internally, we're going to, be taking a close look at that and figuring out which staff and when we would need them and what that timeframe might be. But it was a placeholder to say, if we added 3 additional staff in year 1, this is what it would look like, and this is how it could be absorbed within the budget. So if we had more or less than that, or staggered bringing them in, and we will certainly, if we do that and needed that, we'd have to come to the board anyway separately to request authorization to increase the FTE. But we're projecting so that we have some funds in the budget and can project in that manner, and if there's an adjustment, we can make it.
No, I think it's smart, and it's operational, so there's not my,
Yeah, well,
that's you. This is all on you, and I think it's smart to think about that. The district is growing, they're building more housing, they're building more, the bandwidth for the district is expanding. So this is smart. I think it's a smart projection.
It also reflects the fact that even though technology helps us be more reliable, efficient is yes, in many ways, but it also takes quite a lot to manage all of the new technologies that are continuing to come at us. And as we talked about the deferred capital and the deferred maintenance, there's an awful lot of preventative maintenance that has not been getting done on a regular basis because we haven't had the staff to do it. The new equipment we have as part of the Clean and Green project is a lot more complicated and needs a lot of effort to maintain it at the level that it should be. And so what we'd be achieving is, while it might be some additional staff, is we would be running the entire system at a much higher level of service and reliability than it has in the past.
Yeah.
That being said, it still is remarkable that, 26 years without a MPDS violation at the plant, and that's a testament to what the staff has been able to do, but that was not sustainable. As you saw, we had to take our digesters offline because we were worried about them from a safety perspective and many other aspects like that, the ancient blowers, but it's a different kind of maintenance we hope to be doing and keeping the whole system at a much higher level of reliability.
And I'm glad you say this about the staff, because I had written a note to say, and more interns.
Well, that
So we can
was on there.
prepare.
That was on there.
That is also, we
Yeah.
took that into configuration as well. We're looking at full-time staff, but we're also making sure that there's sufficient funds over the long term to hire interns and
Yeah.
part-time.
So we can
because
prepare for
that
the
is-
future, because
For the future.
Right.
again, there's in our strategic plan, right? And mentioned general manager, because my note, and you said it, and I was thinking, but you said it, that yes, delaying the money, 8% versus 12%, not only is it gonna cost us more money-wise, but it will cost us more, because it could, not only are we not fixing the problem now, it delays, it could make it worse over time, because you're not addressing it right now.
We have plenty of examples of that,
Yes.
and the force mains are the most obvious and easiest ones to demonstrate is that doing that work and the cost of doing it because we had a failure, as opposed to having replaced it or managed it before the failure, costs us a lot more money.
Yeah.
At that point, we have no choice, we have to. And drawing on available funds, another thing that you don't see here, but we used to be able to pull upon a reserve of funds, salary savings, because we had a vacancy rate of exceeding, well, go ahead, Justin.
Well, if 5 years ago it was 36%, now we're down to 4.
Yeah.
So we don't, which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing,
it's a good
but
thing.
then again,
Right.
and it's not just the cost, right? It's not just the cost, the force main cost, because you're forced to do it now, but it's also, we're in this weird time frame because it's a cost, is now we have tariffs, now we have supply chain issues, now we have all of these other things that have, we have high interest, so now we have all of these other things that are piled onto what, now it's an emergency, right? So you're gonna pay for it, one way or the other. So now instead of 12%, you're looking at a 38% increase in what it is. So that is why sometimes you have to look at it, you amortize it over this way, at 12%, or you're gonna pay for it. Again, the work is a work, so you pay for it this way, or you pay for it in an emergency situation.
And we won't have, that salary savings won't have that pool of money, but that's a good
Correct.
thing because that means we have the staff on board, they're here, we're able to retain them, and that means that we're able to operate more effectively.
So let's down from, so I would say 30. I think that's something that I know you guys will work out with, talking to the different neighborhood groups, and this part of the plan. But there's something that's, and we also, we have a responsibility of the board to make sure we have a good presentation for how we speak to the public. But there's something on the back end, so there's not something right now.
The last thing that I'll mention is, as we talked about when we came and presented the new strategic plan and the implementation plan, is our ability to track what we do and how we're spending the money and whether we're doing it effectively or not through being able to track various performance indicators, which really wasn't something that could happen before. So if we ask for 12% a year, we'll be in a better position to say, what did we do with it?
Sure. And this also goes back to when we had the conversation about, we also, we want to make sure that when you talk about like the additional staff, or we want to pay the workers, and that involves, they don't like to get paid the same amount for 5 years.
No.
I will tell you.
And
They told us.
And they won't be.
And they told us. So we have to build that into this as well. And I know that the community knows this, right? And so the community also understands this. And there's a cost to doing business. And the work is the work.
All right, thank you.
Director King Meredith, you want to, I know that we're receiving this presentation, but I also want to give you feedback because we need to move this to the full board to receive this presentation, yes?
Correct. So if you don't have.
Because it's not on your timeline. Your
right, so it's-
timeline didn't include a presentation to the full board. It just says a meeting.
Yeah, it would be in the, January, February timeframe.
Yeah, because it needs to happen before the meeting to authorize.
Right, so our deadline is to get the full board to authorize the Prop 218
In February,
notice
March.
would be in March. So then
Yeah.
we have time to issue the notices and have sufficient time to plan for the.
Okay.
So let's
hearing.
just have a motion to move it to the full board, and we will let you guys figure out what meeting. How about that?
Sure, and so if your recommendation, just want to make sure, is that we would be giving a presentation first.
That's it.
And so then we wouldn't be asking for any direction until, so we'd give one presentation to the full board, and then it would come back
That's
later
it.
if there was any feedback from the
That's
full
it.
board. Sure.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you want to move to receive a presentation, to receive a presentation to the full board on Prop 2018. So it's the same thing that says here?
For the full board. Okay, so my recommendation is to receive a presentation of Proposition 218 and an overview of the fiscal year of 27 to 2031 sewer service charge scenarios to the full board.
Okay.
And just to clarify, this would be to bring to the full board the both scenarios that we presented to the committee
Yes.
today as well?
And then
Okay.
we will give our recommendation.
Okay.
And with
With,
some of the recommendations we gave you for today.
Yeah, yes, we can retool the presentation, include some of those items that you asked.
Yes. And that's it. So,
Okay.
and we will leave it to you to determine which meeting, to give
bring it
yourself
back.
enough time. I trust that you know how much, which meeting will allow enough time to handle that, okay? All right? Okay, I concur.
Good.
All right? That's it.
Okay, well, thank you.
yes.
All right, with that, we're moving on to item 4 on the agenda is reports
Oh,
on.
just one second. Thank
really?
you, sir.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, General Manager, as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sir.
okay. Yeah, so now we'll be moving on to item 4 on the agenda is reports on issues or matters pertaining to the work of the committee. Madam Clerk, have we received written comments on this item or requests to speak?
We have not. If anyone wishes to comment on item 4, please approach the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Seeing none, you have no public comments.
Director King Meredith.
I have none.
Oh,
at-
wait, before
You
that,
got something?
does the staff have anything to report, sir?
We have nothing to report from staff.
Okay, all right. Okay, madam.
Okay, I have none at this time.
Do you have any requests for any, anything of staff for future meetings?
Not until my next couple of meetings that I have in the next few days.
Okay. I have, okay. I wanted, yeah, if we have a follow-up meeting with PSLA schedule?
With the PSLA?
Yeah, we have a follow-up
We
meeting.
do not. We're actually we'll have some update at the board meeting. But we don't
I
have.
thought we were meeting with them before, yes or no?
The intent is to bring it to the board at the next meeting to give the board an update.
Okay,
And then my understanding is the intent is still to bring it back to FNA for a recommendation, but obviously if the board gives some different direction next week, we'll hear that then.
okay, so that's going in this meeting coming up?
Right.
This week?
Next week.
meeting, right.
Okay, so, and then,
Because we're still working through the other, the components with the trades
okay.
as directed, yeah.
And then where are we with our update on the contract renewals, small contracts? We should have a meeting on this, right? The mid.
On the service contracts?
Yeah,
It
that
is
should be
about that
coming to us,
time. I don't
right?
have it scheduled yet, but that would be coming up in the next.
That should be coming up soon, right? Service
Yeah.
contracts, the
Let me look at
smaller
the-
service contracts?
Yeah, let me look at the last time that we presented. I think
it was
it's
last
been-
year.
It was
Yeah, it was-
earlier this year. or
Yeah, like,
But it's about that time.
it's about this time
Yeah.
to look at those, the service contracts. And then I wanted an update, General Counsel, about the finance training that we are supposed to have as board members. Do we have an update on that, where it is in the
Yes.
state ledge?
So well, it's been adopted.
Yeah.
The intent is to bring a update to the board on kind of what the training requirements are and changes to not just that, but also AB 1234. You all have plenty of time to get to the point at which you will have to actually take your training and comply with that requirement. So we have plenty of lead time, but we'll be bringing that to the board with updates.
Okay. Hold on. I had another one. Oh, and do we have the update for changing from .com to .gov, or from .org to .gov?
Not yet. I know it's a requirement for cities and counties, but
I know.
it has not.
I know, but there was a bill to change even
For
for,
special districts.
Yes.
Yeah. I have to go back and look at where that bill landed.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that we would have a couple years to, if we needed to. We could do
I
it
know, but
without-
we should be reserving, right?
Yeah, and there's a
Because-
couple different options we have, whether it's through the state or directly through a federal registry, to like a
Because it's gonna
.gov
change
or
everything.
.ca.gov. So we have two options to look at it.
Yeah, to either .ca or
Right.
.gov, but I just wanted an update so we can,
Okay, we can put that on there.
so if we can have an update on this one and how that would affect, the way we do business and everything else, and because we were supposed to, CSDA asked for us to, they wanted everybody to weigh in on it and what that impact would have on us. If there's a monetary impact, if we would have to change, name and all of that, what kind of impact that would have. They're trying to gather all of that for
Yeah,
everybody.
we can give that presentation to you. We've had some minor discussions with our IT firm, Apex, because they have done that with a few of their clients that are cities. So we can provide an update on to what that would take for us and what impacts would have on us we can do that in the future.
Okay. And then the last thing I want is, can we get out to everybody I think you've sent it out before, but I know that special districts sent it out, but our benefits or our affiliation with the national special districts. Because we're trying to make sure everybody understands that we now have a national special districts that is official now, and that we're all, because we're in California special districts, we're part of the National Special Districts Association, and we would like everybody to be taking advantage of that. And there's some, like, for instance, we have Amazon Prime now. We have, there's discounts, but also just to uplift the work that we did to have Congress recognize special districts, and we're trying to get that put into the record, the congressional record. The special districts are actually a thing. And to get that written, but we want as many people as possible to be signing on and utilizing participation, that's the word I'm looking for, to participate in national, NSDA, the National Special Districts Association. I mean, most aren't even participating in California special districts, but it'd be great if we were also participating in national special districts. I'm representing us in California special districts, but also in Contra Costa and in Alameda County, but we as a district should be also participating in national special districts. So if you can send that out, I know you already know about it, Jocelyn, but if you could just remind everybody about national special districts, that would be great, sir.
Okay.
And that was it. Anything else? Oh, you said benefits?
No, I said, and it's benefits.
Oh, yeah, and its benefits, yes. And that was it. Any announcements? Madam Clerk, to you.
So the next Finance and Administration Committee meeting is scheduled for December 11th at 9 a.m. Nothing further.
Thank you. With that, this meeting is adjourned, 10:26. Gracias, appreciate it.